Alrighty. Quarter of the season in the books, or a little less than that. Corstian.
Mhm.
Wow. Bears are rolling. Broncos are rolling. It's been a crazy season so far. I know the amount of injuries has been crazy.
Mhm.
Selfishly, in my fantasy league, I had both Malik Nabers and Tyreek Hill. Both of
Mhm.
them are out for the season with ACLs plus more significant injuries. And this is on top
Mhm.
of already losing Aaron Jones, Joe Burrow. So the one league we're in for redraft, I'm cooked because I'm
Mhm.
just taking the hits. And then my other league, Derrick Henry and James Cook are flipped on where I thought they would be as positional
Mhm.
value, but then
Yeah.
Jaden Reed's out, Xavier Worthy got hurt, and I
Mhm.
lucked into Quentin Johnson. And suddenly in the dynasty league, I'm doing pretty good. I'm
Mhm.
sitting pretty, and I finally figured out my RB2 problem.
Mhm.
So it's been mixed emotions, but a lot of injuries to key players that I don't think we were expecting at all coming into this season. But what has been your overall takeaways so far for 4 weeks?
Yeah, the injury bug has been ridiculous this year. I think we talked about this last year, just on not last year, but last week, where we talked a little bit about how by the end of the season, or maybe I talked about this to someone else, but by the end of the season, a lot of star players do inevitably go down. And you're like, dang, that's sucks for these players and their injuries or whatever. But the level of injuries you have just now week 4 of the season feels like a season's worth of football injuries. Where it's yeah, I don't think. I mean, obviously it's impossible to predict injuries, but the rate that we're having it, right? We have my dynasty team, right? And some of these guys were hurt. I like Christian Watson, whatever. But I have Michael Meyer, who's listed as out, CeeDee Lamb, who's listed as out, Mike Evans, who's listed as out, Aaron Jones, who's listed as out, Braylon Allen just got hurt, and then Jaden Daniels. That's a whole roster right there.
That's
you know?
ridiculous.
And so, yeah, it's crazy. But also at the same time, I feel like we've seen a lot of young players really show out these past couple of weeks. I think almost seeing the new set of superstars around the league. Ibuka, as a rookie, I feel like week in and week out, he really has been balling out. We saw Woody Marks with the Texans really kind of take hold of that running back room this week.
He had 35 points in fantasy, did he?
Yeah, he balled out. He was the guy I was eyeing, but everywhere I see, everybody already had him. I was kind of mad, even 2 weeks ago, because it was 2 weeks ago. I'm I think he could get some movement, But then he was taken up. But then even RJ Harvey, who he had 100 yards from scrimmage just from yesterday's game, so he's nominated for rookie of the week. And then there's but Tyler Warren is looking like an absolute dog. Luther Burden last week, right? I mean, he played good. So it's a lot of these young players really strong. I mean, Ashton Genty as well as a rookie. I mean, sucks that his breakout game was
Thanks
against
for
the
bringing
Bears.
that up.
But you guys won. You can't complain.
Yeah, but I don't like our run defense. It's been bad. Between Jordan Mason and Ashton Genty, I'm oh my. And Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. It's been a problem. It's been a consistent problem. So hopefully the early bye we can resolve it. But credit to Ashton, he played well. He got a much needed confidence boost after demanding more touches, but not having the production he wanted the previous week. That was good to see. Yeah, let's start with some clips. I'll go through a couple of my observations here. Some good, some bad, as always. But in reality, none of it is truly bad. We're truly this player is the greatest of all time. These are just clips to show where things can go right or wrong, and how schematically things you see on the tape may not constitute to what you see in the stats. And that's been a big component of what I wanted this podcast to be when we first started. And starting off for that Raiders and Bears game, I have a 2-minute video that kind of dictates basically the Bears blocked kick wasn't blocked. So we'll get into that real quick here. So let me share my screen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel normally these plays, I mean, there's a little bit of luck, obviously, just because the kick's a kick. But for the most part, I mean, this is what these special teams guys are training for week in and week out, right? And so like obviously
literally like a week or 2 weeks ago, we've had like what? Like we just talked about on this podcast, like 4 or 5 block kicks across like 3 different games.
Yeah,
So,
and like I'd say maybe like rather than lucky, it's just like a low probability like chance. But like the fact that we have seen it obviously shows that there is an element of skill and like planning that needs to be done, because otherwise, why are teams even lining up in field goal block formation, right?
exactly. Yeah. The whole point is to block the kick. So let's dig into this here.
Yeah.
So normal kick. Let's see here. You could tell there's like 7 guys overloaded on the right side. Like if we're looking from this camera angle, outside of the Raiders. So they're trying to do an overload pressure here. Very interesting. Let's see. So this is the same kick. Don't notice too much off the top. So they tried to block. Okay, so they're noticing a weakness. I think that's what it's at. Now they're trying on the other side of the line, and this is the one I saw in the game, and I was like, "Oh wow, that was really close to block." If this was a farther field goal, we would have had it. I caught myself saying that like live when watching this. Like I was in the basement with my parents when watching this, but let's look at this. Blackwell, who ended up blocking the kick, like at the end of the game. Look how close he is to the holder and to the kicker. Like he is just, you could tell he just missed it.
Yeah.
And if he had more time to tee off, because that's a farther ball to like get to the holder, it was gonna take that kicker might take a second to generate that power. He could have had that. But they try to overload the opposite side. So they're like, okay, this overload front is overwhelming the Raiders. So again, they're attacking the guards here.
And homeboy got plowed over too.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right. So this is the end of the game. Far enough distance. Raiders win if they kick this. Look at the overload again, shown on the right side. So they know it's been working. They'll overwhelm the guards. Overwhelm the guards, and that allows Blackwell to come scot-free. And he times the kick. He times it just enough because he knew on the last one he was just a half second off. And this time, because it's a farther kick and he timed it perfectly, he was able to block it. So.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is some of the effect of just like the Ben Johnson culture that he brings to the Bears. I don't know if you saw that post game, like like the team huddle or whatever, where he was doing the game balls and everything, but it felt like Bears culture is like completely changed from Eberflus last year. I saw a clip of how like Eberflus had like a post game, like like the locker room speech or whatever after the win, and it was pretty tame. I kind of got the vibes from Eberflus, where it was kind of like a let's act like we've been here before kind of thing, but it's like, well, unfortunately, you guys haven't been here for like since 2018, realistically, and and so it's like, sure, have some semblance of like self-respect, but at the same time, it's cool. And then you see here with Ben Johnson, he's riling everybody up, everybody's cheering, and and like it's just like a whole culture reset, where like I think I don't know, it's like the effect of like you lose bad that 1 week against Detroit, like embarrassingly, and then I guarantee you Ben Johnson just grilled them, that week in practice, and was like, did you like just going over like, did you guys enjoy that? Like, that is not fun football, right? And just like I feel like, I don't know, like it's just this whole culture thing, and then you see the discipline go over like multiple like parts of the game, right? And so you see the special teams unit playing with extra discipline, where they almost got 2 blocked field goals. Like, that is insane. So I don't know. really excited to see how just the culture continues to change with the Bears. It seems like it's trending in a positive way. The locker room looked like a bunch of guys that are genuinely excited to be there, be a part of the Chicago Bears, and be coached by Ben Johnson. So
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that, but it's something
did you see that halftime interview?
Oh, I did.
What do you think of it?
Ben Johnson is a dog. Like he's so serious. Like he's so locked in for this football team that there's always like some coordinators don't have what it takes to be a coach. Some obviously do. Ben Johnson, like just from these 4 weeks, it seems like he's got what it takes to be a head coach. Because even like I don't know how great they'll be this season. Like I envision a couple more tough losses will just happen as I think there's some room for I guess the Bears to still grow both offensively and defensively. But it just seems like he's like the players are excited to play for him and are willing to like it's almost like the Dan Campbell effect of like how even though they struggled that first like year and a half with Dan Campbell with Detroit, like you could tell the players loved playing for Dan Campbell. And I think Ben Johnson has a lot of that in him just through being in that coaching staff. And I think he brings a lot of that positive energy to the Bears.
I'm going to bring up a different name, just observing his mannerisms and demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
From like an offensive Mike Vrabel, because he has the pulse of a team of a head coach,
Mm-hmm.
but he's like insanely passionate. Like almost
Mm-hmm.
where like and I noticed this in the interview, like he'll just like he'll kind of like die for his team, like kind of just like a war general. Like that's the vibe he gives off. You look at him in the locker room, he's screaming his lungs out, like he is like full of energy. He is serious. He's like, this is how we're gonna do it. This is the way he's gonna be, and we're gonna execute this, and we're gonna get better at this. And he's taking full accountability, and I would love to see it. One of the questions I had for him was like, can he be that leader that Mike Vrabel is? For me, like it's kind of revisionist history, but I'm really glad they went Ben Johnson instead of Mike Vrabel because you're getting both the Mike Vrabel and the offensive excellence you need to maximize Caleb Williams. And that was something I didn't see from Ben Johnson being in Detroit because he's never been put in that spot before. And now that I'm seeing it, I was like, okay, you'll have guys like Matt Nagy or like other offensive coordinators. Like I think honestly, with the way things are going in Cincinnati, Zach Taylor might be the next latest case of this, where they're really good offensive coordinators. When they go to the head coach, they don't have the pulse of their team, and like they don't know like how to dial them up or get them energized. Ben Johnson clearly has that, and they're gonna play with the discipline that Matt Eberflus is trying to establish, but also from a genuine sense that this coach cares for us. And I know it's been quite a tangent from the field goal blocks, but at the same time, I think these field goal blocks are emblematic that like this Bears team resembles Ben Johnson, where they will do whatever it takes to win. So early on, Max Crosby was like wrecking the entire game. He was telegraphing every one of Caleb Williams' passes, and it seemed like the Bears' offense could not do anything because of one player. All of a sudden, that switch flipped, and if you look at Caleb Williams' passer rating over the 4 quarters, he is like at a 95 in the 4th quarter, where everything else is like at 88. So he is playing phenomenal. And on top of that, he has like a 28-7 touchdown to interception ratio, that being the best by a number 1 pick ever. That means something. Like I've noticed he does a good job protecting the ball from his rookie season, but to have him play the way he's playing, I have to mince my words a little bit with the Chicago Bears being a hard fan, and I think they're heading in the right direction. Now my only issue with them is stop the run. Stop the run
here. Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, and just like what you're kind of talking about with Ben Johnson too, it's like in my head, a Ben Johnson ran Chicago Bears team last season doesn't fall to that many games, and they're closer to 500 for sure. Like I don't know. I just feel like the overall level of discipline and focus and drive the players seem to have this season. Just, I mean, from these 4 games, I don't know. It feels night and day with just like some of the stuff we were seeing last season with Chicago.
I agree. I definitely
mhm,
agree. Especially the turnovers the past few weeks, just insane. I was
mhm,
almost about to be livid if they lost this game against the Raiders because the amount of turnovers they had in the first half, it should have been a blowout. But they
mhm.
won. They're going
Yeah.
to the bye week
Mhm.
500. I love to see it.
Yeah.
I think you'll love to see this too. My favorite dynasty pickup,
Mhm.
Darren Waller, who I dropped, and now I'm hoping he's available on the waiver wires. We'll see. But look at this catch over Sauce Gardner. That is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like Sauce is trying to do everything he can to push him out, but um, I think I think this tweet was just funny. So
Mhm.
it's just like imagine like the highest paid corner just getting mossed by a guy who's coming off his first week back from injury, um, who everyone thinks is washed, and he's they got these extra details here. What is that by Darren Waller? Just I think he had like 2 touchdowns. Just insane,
Mhm. Yeah. It's a nice stat line.
insane
Yeah.
game. What you got?
Yeah. I mean, he played good football. I mean, it's not much to that. I mean, like obviously, I'll eat my words here too. I mean, like he played. I think he played better than a lot of what everybody expected, especially the fact that he missed the first couple weeks of football. Obviously, he was to the point where I mean, you ended up cutting him too, right? But at the same time, like it's just 1 week of football as well. I mean, who knows? Like maybe this is just his best game of the season, and then he's just kind of like a middle of the pack kind of guy. Which I mean, isn't the worst thing from a I mean, you look at this, right? A 33-year-old who was a rapper at this time last year, playing in his first game since January of 2024. Like, I mean, even if he ends up with like a 500 yard, like a 500-yard stat line with like maybe 5 total touchdowns. Honestly, I think that's still an incredible accomplishment for Darren Waller, given again his age and the last time he's played football, and just kind of how middling the Dolphins seem to be for this season. Yeah, but I will say my tight end Jake Ferguson is like tight end overall #1 right now in fantasy for some reason, but
Yeah,
that's
that's because my Bears, they they allowed him to catch like 15 balls. Like it was crazy. But I will say this about it was 3 receptions. 2 of them were touchdowns, I know, for
Mhm.
27 yards. So I just did this to troll.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm looking at the Dolphins, I would be really excited about Malik Washington.
Hmm.
I think the role that's been hyped up for him in camp going into the season, but like kind of prepping him for the Tyreek role, like whenever they moved on from him and Tyreek being a trade candidate this entire time. I was
Hmm.
keeping tabs on Malik Washington just in case they traded Tyreek, but now it seems like he's just gonna outright inherit the role. So he's a guy we keep an eye on. Obviously, Jalen Waddle has always been a fan favorite of mine. Hopefully, we see him back in his rookie season numbers. Now that we got the disappointing news that Tyreek Hill is out for extended amount of time, and
Hmm.
even if he does come back next season, it's gonna take a bit from his age to that's just awful. So him and Malik, that was both awful injuries. Like, I have questions about the turf and um, now going throughout the league. So
Hmm.
first
Yeah.
off for both players.
And I know there's been talk about like the level of injury could potentially be career ending as well, which would be pretty crazy. But then again, it's like you're an older wide receiver, and just like losing your ability to make as sharp of cuts, especially with that being your ultimate strength, is going to be pretty brutal, just regardless of how or when he recovers and comes back.
Yeah, but credit to the Dolphins. I get it. It was against the Jets, but Devon Achane really had a phenomenal game. I think
Hmm.
I think this might have been the boost they needed. Could I
Hmm.
still see everybody getting fired, like coach, GM, and quarterback? Yes, but hey, you're not going to be 0-16, so that's something there.
Yeah, that's nice.
Alrighty, let's go to this clip here. This is a my guy for this year coming into this. Again, also my guy from last year, along with Lab McConkey. This is
Hmm.
Xavier Worthy. This is not a catch per se. He had a pretty good game on his way back. I think he had 5 receptions,
Hmm.
83 yards. Well, let's just take a look here. So he's going to be on the bottom of your screen. he stacks on top and wins immediately on Wiggins. I think that's a great sign. If you have a receiver that can win that quickly on the Chiefs, I think you're in a pretty good spot, especially with a deep threat like Tyquan Thornton. I think I would be really, really excited about what Xavier Worthy can bring to the Chiefs. I think their offense is gonna be back to normal, even without Rushy Rice. So I
Yeah.
think this is an example of like where Xavier Worthy can impact the Chiefs. He had a couple good end arounds and like good receptions, but like overall impact wise, like this is the kind of stuff you're hoping to see from him coming out of Texas. And the fact that he's kind of put things together from a technique standpoint, I would be really, really excited about him the rest of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like there's like I think two arguments to like this play as well, which I think is really cool. Is really like you can say like, oh, but it's against Nate Wiggins, who's a young cornerback, and it might be a struggle. But also Nate Wiggins, I'm pretty sure he ran like a 4.28 40 at the combine. So it's like the fact that he gets this beat, and it's like it takes a guy with 4.28 level speed, to really not let this be a blown coverage play is pretty incredible on Xavier Worthy's part.
Yeah. Overall statement game by the Chiefs. I know, I get it. You're upset. That is not a good sign for the AFC West that they've figured things out. But I will say this: Ravens had me worried, very, very worried. But the amount of injuries and like the way their pass defense looking before those injuries, I have a lot more to say about them later. But this is bad. This is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So off we go to Cam Ward. This is kind of an example of like rookie lapses. So I'll let this video play over again. So there's a couple plays you'll notice where like he's kind of off target, like trying to hit Ward. So basically, he's scrambling to the right. He's trying to find somebody. This option's not here. And then by the time he gets Lockett, it's way too late where the sideline's also an additional defender. So let's watch. So if I were him, I would have probably either thrown it in this window or pump faked, throw it past 45. And I get it. It's easy for me to say just from the couch, just watching this. But see, that window right there, that's an NFL throw. But his line kind of failed him. And there's multiple clips of his line also failing him. So his eyes aren't even looking there right now.
Yeah.
So by the time he gets out there, the whole timing is thrown off. And there's multiple cases where whether or not it's within his control, like that time where you missed him, but when he scrambled out, that's out of his control. These are things that Cam Ward needs to try and navigate his rookie season before like he can have the season that everybody expects out of him in his career.
Yeah, and I feel like this is less than just like a rookie lapse of play and just more, like you said, the offensive line really just failed him here. Because, like, as he's rolling out, sure, you have, like, he's just like, oh, he could have thrown to him, like, 4 to 6 steps earlier. But, like, at that point, there's the dude right in his face, and you throw that, the arms just go up, and the passes get batted down, and you're like, him scrambling a little bit further to try to get a little bit around the edge so that the guy can't just bat it down with his arms in the air, I think is a valid, like, moment to do. Because I feel like
I think it's more of like, I guess my point is the processing speed, right? Because if we look at a guy like maybe Herbert or Purdy, right? Like they'll win within the pocket where maybe it's a 3-step drop and then bam, get that ball out. So if you see the defender leaning on his right foot, you throw that left because there's no way he's going to recover in time, right?
Yeah,
so
but he's already
Cam Ward is not there yet, where it's like, okay, if you got a defender like bearing down on him, kind of in his peripheral, he's not there yet where he's confident to let that go immediately. He feels like he has to do it on his own right now, and that's kind of the gap where I think like he has to take, where it's like, if I scramble like this and I'm under duress, I just cut off half the field to my disposal. Versus like if I'm right here, I still have options. I could go to the flat because my defender's a little off. And that's a throw I can get off fairly quickly, or I can go here, or I could just throw it away if nothing's open. You know, but when you're scrambling, you can still throw it away. But then when you're here, you feel like you need to make a play and force it in there. So it's just one of those things where like offensive line could be better. Yes, absolutely. That's the primary thing you always want for your quarterback. But if it's not perfect, how do you process the game in such a way? I could pull up multiple Joe Burrow clips where he's going for like 4 or 5 reads, like in the pocket, despite having a bad O-line. And I'm not expecting that out of Cam Ward, but that's kind of an example of like maybe you have like 2 reads like as a hot route option that you're comfortable going to at your backdrop, like when your initial read's not there.
Yeah, but I mean, also Joe Burrow's receivers are better than like individually are better than like the Titans receiver class combined right now. So I mean, like you give some, you take some, you know.
That's valid. That's valid. I'm just talking about what is within his control. So that quick second processing speed, again, this is a problem for all rookies, not just Ward. Like this is an example of like why rookie QBs struggle when they first enter the league. These kind of things where like they want to make the big play, but you got to sometimes take the check down and take the check down immediately when you don't want to. So yeah. Just wanted to show that it's like not necessarily bad clip of Cam Ward again. I think I might have said that wrong in the beginning, but just room to grow. And that's never a bad thing here. Alrighty. This is just a montage of AJ Brown's targets. I don't know what to make of them. I wonder what your thoughts are as you're watching it. But he had a lot of cryptic things to say. Nick Sirianni was going at it in the presser. Let's just see what the film shows us at how he did against Tampa Bay here. Okay. Tyreek Hill with a throw. Great job winning that.
He gets hit on the release, so I mean,
not much you can do either side.
Here.
Clean pocket.
I think that's a miss on Jalen Hurts right there, but still, I mean, corner route kind of throw.
I mean, like you look at the throw and it's like, where could he go with it, right? It's in the second half. I'm sure AJ's had 1 catch, right? So he's like frustrated. I'm frustrated being a dynasty owner having him, and I'm like, what is going on with him? I thought he was there, but if you look at where the defender is, he cuts him off at a good angle against the corner route where Jalen Hurts has to be perfect with his throw. So yes, that's on him. But also, this is even the right read. I don't know. Like maybe if it is, you got to throw that earlier. So you give AJ Brown more real estate to work with the sideline. But what about the other reads on the play? I didn't really see that from this. So
and additionally, like if you look at the pocket too, he's in a clean pocket at that time.
Absolutely.
And so it's like he could have sat there a little bit longer. But he's like right here, right? I mean, like obviously he's getting pushed back a little bit, but there's no free runner coming in right now. And so I feel like he could have honestly even like scrambling here could have been a potential option. But I don't remember what down this was on. So there's a chance that if this is like a second down kind of play, you just take the shot regardless. And if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't kind of thing. And then third down, it's third and short, you get it. But
I think the thing like this is where it kind of got out of their way because like in the first half, Jalen Hurts was on fire, right? But then when Tampa Bay started to mount that comeback, you're wondering what is going on. How come they have 0 passing yards? I think you'll notice between like the amount of like we're not even 30 seconds into this clip. What this is showing me is they're trying to run the offense through AJ Brown and forcing the ball, even if it's not the right intent. Okay, still clean pocket. Again, it feels late where the timing is off between Hurts and Brown, whereas like by the time he even gets it to him, it's not an ideal position, even if it was a catchable ball.
Yeah, but then even then, it felt like AJ Brown kind of got stopped towards the end of that, where the guy was just like on him, and he couldn't even get open on that play. So it's closer to 50-50. That's just good coverage, I think, there.
I agree. That one was forced. I wouldn't have thrown it there.
Yeah, and obviously it's a comeback route, so you're looking for like you're trying to just get the timing off the corner, and so you almost throw it before like the route's even complete at that point, just because you're like he either wins this comeback or he doesn't. Like,
and you can see them like they're waiting for it,
even
on the second one. So they're trying the same concept over and over again.
Because I mean, a lot of receivers simply just win those routes, and so it's kind of weird how it's pretty. I don't know, like even like obviously like you can say, well, getting out physical is pretty tough, but I feel like we like commend AJ Brown and saying he's a physical wideout too, and so it's like sometimes like obviously it's a tough catch, but he's I don't know for maybe like that for the one thrown right before this one, right, that we just saw that shorter comeback route. I can see that's a harder catch to get, but then this second one right here, I feel like sure it's still a tough catch, but like you can't out muscle the dude is part of it. So I think it's obviously a mix of I think multiple parties are at fault, but obviously I just think this is a great play by the defensive back right here.
Yeah, so he had 9 targets here, right? So you can't say they're not targeting him the ball, but from what I see a mix of things. By the time Hurts gets to him within his read or forcing it to him, it's not in an ideal location. On some routes, I don't feel like AJ Brown is as sharp or quick coming out of the breaks as what you would expect, like a receiver's his skill set to do. And maybe that's part of like just expecting him to do what Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson would do when AJ Brown doesn't have that like that body type. Like so he can win in different ways, right? And it's also the route tree like that he was targeted on too. Not of every diverse route tree. A lot of it was towards the sideline. So I think it's one of those situations where he's always outside the numbers. He's not moving around. They're not involving in motion like they are in Kellen Moore's offense. There are ways that he can get involved, but at the same time, there are things in his control where he could probably be more engaged in, like more sharp on his routes and stuff. So I think this is a complex issue for a 4-0 team that is playing lights out crazy on other sides of the ball, even when the running game and the receivers aren't getting the targets that you would hope out of this high-powered offense. But these are just trying to show like what's going wrong with a star receiver like this where we have higher expectations.
Yeah. But yeah, I think ultimately what this comes down to is they're really missing having a quality offensive coordinator here. Because I think from the get-go, from week 1, I've been kind of just saying like the Eagles offense can't continue to do what they're doing, or else like I don't think you'll have a very like you'll probably make the playoffs just because your team is good enough to make the playoffs. But when you're going in the playoff gauntlet, you might struggle a lot more just because it's like Saquon, like he looks like a middle of the road running back sometimes out here, right? Like, but obviously that isn't the case. Like we know what Saquon is capable of, because we've seen him have those little breakout runs, but like he ends the game with like barely any rush yards, even on like a ton of attempts. And so it's like, I think the ultimate issue here is just the fact that you're missing your old offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. Because you look at the Saints, right? And sure, the Saints have sucked. Like they're not really winning that much. But I'd argue that their offense looks decently fluid, considering you have Spencer Rattler as like your quarterback, and like they're making Spencer Rattler look like a solid quarterback. Granted, I know like beyond 10 passing like 10 yards, like Rattler kind of sucks, and that's why he probably won't be their quarterback in the future. But like they still look competitive in their games, and like they're getting the ball to Chris Olave. I think almost better than he has almost his entire career so far. Rashid Shaheed's been okay. Jawan Johnson's looked like a superstar tight end in this system. Like Alvin Kamara's, he's making plays. Kendre Miller had a good play. Like the Saints offense looks good enough, I think, with Kellen Moore, that obviously I'm excited to see what the Saints do in the future. But then you see him leave the Eagles, and it's just been my concern where it's like things on offense just don't seem to be clicking. at all, both in the pass game and the rushing game, and they're just winning by almost pure will of the defense being as good as they are.
And special teams going crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's a similar thing to what we saw like once Shane Steichen left, and it's really, really coordinate dependent now. Now the Eagles have a talent. That's why they're 4-0 and making things work. But the offensive coordinator is going to have to try something else and like get the room engaged because the current approach is not working. That leads to one of my overreactions looking into this. Because of what we described with the Eagles, even though they lost the Eagles, I think the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC. After watching how they fared against the Eagles, the Colts, and I get it, they lost to defending champs. But again, I said this last week, Puka, I cannot say another word about your greatness. That was ridiculous. 13 catches on 15 targets. Yep, you watched the podcast. I can't say anything more. Devontae Adams doing great. Matthew Stafford, like 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, ridiculous. And they're right there, like in every single one of their games. Nobody's stopping their offense. They have one of the best front sevens in the league. This is a team to be reckoned with, and I want to look at the Lions. I want to look at the Bucks. I want to look at the Eagles. This is a team where I'm like, okay, you got to circle that matchup for because as long as Stafford is healthy, this team could go to the Super
Bowl. Yeah, Puka's been balling out. He's a good receiver. Puka, Mr. on pace for 2,000 receiving yards in Nakua. He's my boy. But yeah, no, I think I agree with you. There was like they look good, but then obviously it's like I think Commanders with like a healthy Jaden Daniels could be in that mix because obviously we've seen them without him for the past little bit, and so I think that's like another team to be in the mix. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know, like see another quarter of football go by and kind of see where team standings are because it's like I feel like more and more it's like it takes longer to really figure out where teams are in the league in terms of like who's going to be the top dogs by the end of the season. Because like I feel like we remove a preseason game, you add another game to the season, and so you're like it's almost like the first like 2 to 3 games are almost like additional preseason games that just happen to matter.
Feeling each other out, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Puka is good. Devontae Adams has been good. But the fact that Puka Nacua just got his first receiving touchdown is crazy with how like insanely productive he's been.
I know. I don't know what to say. Yeah. He's good. Yeah. All right. What's yours?
Mine is Chargers receiver trio is probably currently the best in the NFL. Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, and Ladd McConkey, like regardless, like I think production-wise, they are probably the scariest trio of receivers to go against in the league right now. If I was the defensive coordinator, they'd be the team I'd be fearing the most in terms of the pass attack.
Yeah, if you're a McConkey owner, I wouldn't sweat it. I think he'll get his numbers up. Right now, it's kind of teams are like, okay, if Quentin Johnson beats us, fine. We want to take out Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey based on the seasons they've had in the past, right? So, as a Quentin Johnson owner in one of my leagues, I'm loving it because he's just putting up absurd stats. But I 100% agree because where they went on the field, Quentin Johnson, run after catch, Keenan Allen, elite route runner, Ladd McConkey, same guy that can win on the outside, especially. Like they all complement each other really, really well in this offense. On top of Amarian Hampton having a really great game against the Giants, it just befuddles you to see like, oh, why did they struggle so much against the Giants in this last matchup? But from an overall matchup standpoint, I agree. They're going to be a force to reckon with, and if they're able to keep up this pace and not stack up disappointing losses, this trio is going to drive like how far this offense goes.
Yeah, and like to me too, it's like Lad McConkey not having the stats kind of sucks, but it's like there's so many mouths you have to feed in this offense, and every you can't can you really justify taking away targets from Quentin Johnston the way he's playing right now? Can you justify taking away targets from Keenan Allen the way he's been playing right now? Can you argue giving Omarion Hampton less touches the way he's been balling out as a rookie? Like there are so many mouths to feed in this offense. Like it's inevitable that guys will just happen to not be quite in the spotlight. And also, I think Keenan Allen and Lad McConkey play very decently similar roles of like being both in being able to play boundary and in the slot. And obviously, I think it's more of like a Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, and 2 wide receiver set situation. Just because Keenan Allen, I think, has more experience and is a little bit more versatile than I think what Lad McConkey is. At least right now.
And a rapport with Justin Herbert.
Yeah, right. And so it's like, it makes sense that one of these guys wouldn't necessarily be having the amount of touches. Because, maybe if it was Lad McConkey getting all these touches, it's probably Keenan Allen not getting as much, And so it's just the fact that there's Lad McConkey really not getting that many targets and attention is pretty scary, because I think when the Chargers get to like a crazy shootout when Justin Herbert is hot, like it's going to be super scary, and it's a team that I don't want to be in a shootout with.
Yeah, a team that could be right in shootouts with other teams. The other team they face, the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Like Malik Nabers' injury sucked, because when you're looking at the potential of like Dart and Nabers, I was super excited about it. But Dart played a phenomenal game, and like I look at a stat line with the carries and stuff like that, and I'm like, this is literally like Jaden Daniels, except without the team around him. Like, and Cam Scatterboo's been balling, but buddy, we can't have 79 yards and 25 carries. Like, we got to break one at some point. I don't know what it is, but I love your effort. I love your style. We need to bump that average up. But I think from Jackson Dart, he's definitely an upgrade over Russell Wilson for what we were expecting out of the QB position. Took a lot of sacks, but I think this is a great sign, and it has my overreaction thinking like he's going to be the best QB in the draft 2 to 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a guy that said Jalen Milroe. Like I think that just the position and being with Brian Dable, of like all things, like if Dable stays with him, I will happily say Jackson Dart's the guy, because you got Neighbors on the outside next year for the foreseeable future. You got some viable number 2s and Wando Robinson and Darius Slayton. You could do some things there. Upgrade the receivers, upgrade the tight ends and backs. Like there's a lot to like about what Jackson Dart's doing in New York after one game. So that's why hence why it's an overreaction.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean he played good football. He ultimately got the win too. And so it's like, yeah, you can maybe have a middling performance, but ultimately he won the game. So like that, and then also I look at that rushing touchdown that he had, that like the QB draw up the middle or whatever. I'm like, current state Russell Wilson does not get that touchdown.
Yeah,
I'd say Russell Wilson is maybe objectively still at least average at worst in terms of overall mobility at quarterback. I think he still tries to rely on his mobility as if his mobility is still at an elite level, which is kind of what his downfall is, I think, right now. But like, he's still mobile, but like Jackson Dart is the quarterback to make that play right there. And I think just with that win right there, I think I'm sure he's had it before, but like he's really won the respect, I think, of his team. Just being able to come in 1 week, and just be like, hey, we won the game, and I scored, and he scored a touchdown, and we beat one of the premier teams in the league according to everybody's like personal opinions, right? Like, I think this is good, except for the Giants, despite the injury, obviously.
Who would you rather have, JJ McCarthy or Jackson Dart?
Probably Jackson Dart.
Wow, that was a quick reaction.
Like, I feel like Jackson Dart as a quarterback is still more of a prospect. I think Jackson Dart has more to work on in his game overall. And so I think he might still struggle throughout the. He'll struggle throughout the. I mean, just the fact that I think Malik Nabers better receivers and the Giants, So like, I think he will struggle this year, but like, I have never been super high on JJ McCarthy either, and that just being like I think the big lights don't phase him, but I think that in college he benefited a lot from having like really, really good talent around him. Like talent, I feel like the talent in college elevated him more than he elevated the talent around him in college. If that makes sense.
That's fair. I think with Dart, like he has an upside where he can tap into a Josh Allen level, like with a coach that elevated Josh Allen when he needed to be elevated. And from there, Josh Allen like took his development in his own hands. And there's probably some collaboration that aided in that too. But to be paired with a guy that's seen it from Josh Allen, like I think the future is really bright for this kid. So yeah. He's a dynamic player, and I'm excited to see where his career goes.
Yeah, and that's not to say JJ McCarthy's gonna like suck by any means, right? Like, I still like, even though I'm not like super high on him, he's still a first round draft pick for a reason. There's talks about him being one of like the top 3 quarterbacks taken in the class, and so like again, I like personally, I think the big lights of football don't face him. So if he's going to suck, it's not going to be because the big game's too big for him. It's just going to be because his mechanics were just not able to handle the NFL level more than anything. But I think he has the proper coaching and team around him to provide him a path or like a road to success in the NFL.
That's a fair take. Alrighty. What's your overreaction number 2?
Zach Taylor should have been fired like 3 years ago, dude.
Let's hear it.
Like, Zach Taylor is just today's version of John Fox, man. Like, John Fox was not a good head coach, right? Like, he was simply a yes man that happened to inherit superstars in the NFL. Like, because like what he loses. Like, imagine this. Like, John Fox was fired after a Super Bowl loss. I mean, he got blown out, which right, but like it's like that's crazy, right? But like it makes sense because it was the Manning show. John Fox was not doing anything for that team. It was Peyton Manning. Guarantee you, there's every play. John Fox would call a play. Manning would see that play call. He'd call an audible and completely switch it up. And Fox would be like, "It's Peyton Manning. What should I do?" Like, I'm not going to tell him what to do at quarterback. He goes to the Bears. Like, "Hey, I coached a Super Bowl team. How great was he with the Bears, man?" Like, Zach Taylor, I think, is in the exact.
He helped us beat Aaron Rodgers. I'll give him that.
Yeah, but like Zach Taylor, same exact thing. It's like you've had Joe Burrow, who I wouldn't say he's as good as Peyton Manning or anything, but like Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You have arguably the best wide receiver in Jamar Chase. You have, in my opinion, probably the best number 2 wide receiver in the league in T. Higgins. Chase Brown is a solid middle of the road running back. You got good pieces, but it's like I think last week's loss and this week's loss has magnified the Joe Burrow effect of like how much Joe Burrow actually adds to the overall quality of this team. And like I know Bengals fans have been calling for Zach Taylor to get fired like forever ago too, and it's just because like he has all these dynamic playmakers, and it's like he can't win, and it's like I like my take as well as like Bengals with Zach Taylor will never win a Super Bowl. Like he just I don't think he has the capacity to be that good of a coach to like actually win a Super Bowl. That Super Bowl run they had, I think, was a fluke benefited by the fact that Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they lost it was their O-line, right? And they haven't learned from it since. I just wonder, like, because Mike McDaniel looks like he's going to be fired too after the season starts. What happens if you drop Mike McDaniel in Cincinnati? Just a thought experiment. Like, I think that could actually be really, really fun because if you
Mm-hmm.
saw like how Tyreek and Jim Waddle, random tangent, but that would be exciting. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
good they'd be, but like that would be a fun offense. But I agree. I like Jake Browning is a great quarterback for being a backup, and we
Mm-hmm.
saw this like when he last stepped in for Burrow, like, and it just seems like the whole offense is like unprepared these past 2 games, and I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's a Jake Browning factor. I think that's a coaching problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a coaching problem, and until until they get better preparedness, aka a better coach, I don't see things getting better. They lost
Mm-hmm.
a lot of talent on this team over the past couple of years, and we're looking at them from the lens of like, why do they always start the season off slow?
Mm-hmm.
And this season, that wasn't the case. But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of one of those things when Joe Burrow's out, like you kind of get a sense of like how good is this team actually, as far as like
Mm-hmm.
not as far as the quarterback play because you can't expect Joe Burrow quarterback play, but like in other areas, like how well are you
Mm-hmm.
getting your star players engaged week to week in
Mm-hmm.
non-ideal circumstances? If you have Jamar Chase like talking to you on the sideline, like pretty animatedly,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Like so, yeah, I I don't think that's that outlandish that he's without a
Mm-hmm.
job at the season's end.
Yeah, I'm like not necessarily like another take here, but honestly, they shouldn't have re-signed T. Higgins. Like that money should have gone literally anywhere else beyond a wide receiver too. Like ultimately, right? Because you have Jermaine Burton, who I don't necessarily think is going to be that great, but like you invested what second, third round draft capital in that guy. Uh, Andre Isovas is an all right guy. You know, if like Jamar Chase is your one, I you can kind of field a lot of middling wide receiver twos or whatever, and still I think have a functional enough offense out there. Because then it's like you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and I'm sure Joe Burrow is good enough to like make almost any wide receiver two at least somewhat relevant. But then it's like imagine you spend that T Higgins money just like at other just depth pieces or just like solid like role players throughout the offense and the defense. And it's
Offensive
like,
line.
right? Maybe Joe Burrow's healthy for these last 2 weeks, right? You know? And so I don't know. I just feel like that was a mistake. I mean, like, I understand Joe Burrow wanted to keep both the guys, but like GM dude, like do your job. Like don't I mean obviously take input from your quarterback and the coach, but ultimately if you're the GM, like don't just bend to the whims of all your stars because ultimately there is a salary cap and like if you just do whatever your quarterback tells you to do every time, you're not gonna like keep your job because the quarterback's job is to be a quarterback and not a GM for a reason because he's good at playing football and he would they'd be paying him to be a GM if they wanted him to be a GM. But that's not the case. So GM, be a GM and do your job.
You heard the man. Do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. My last one for today is Ravens are not making the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
I probably not that outlandish with the amount of injuries they got, but when
Mm-hmm.
you don't have Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins lost in the middle of this game, and then you also didn't have Justin Matabike, Matabike, Broderick Johnson or Washington, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Lamar Jackson out for 1 or 2 games,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the teams coming up in the AFC, where it's like I could see the Broncos, Chiefs, and Chargers all make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at the Colts, the way they're performing now, and then the Bills. Even with all the questions about the Bengals and like they could somewhat hover around the wild card spot if they get it together. Like that's what the Ravens are trying to fight uphill. Like keep tabs with the Bengals and potentially the Browns if they ever figured it out on offense. Like that's where they are right now because talent level they're the best in the league, but they're just underperforming. And now they have to perform shorthanded.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the Steelers division to lose at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're like within a fighting distance of the Broncos in like 3 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a path for them. They might get the 7th seed, but like it's I'm gonna say they're not making the playoffs at this rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does feel like the Steelers' division to lose, at least right now. But yeah, no, I think that's a valid take right there. Especially if Lamar's out, like, because, I mean, honestly, like, I feel like a healthy Lamar, fully healthy the rest of the season, is good enough to an extent to like just will the team to the playoffs or at least close to. I mean, we saw what, like, oh my gosh, Joe Burrow almost do that last season. Josh Allen kind of, I mean, when he lacked talent at times, he would basically do that for the Bills. I mean, that's why Josh Allen ultimately won MVP last season. It's just like Lamar, I think, had the better stats, but Lamar also had, I think, the better team. And so,
Way better team.
right. And so, I mean, I understand that, like, giving Josh Allen the MVP last season. So it's like, I mean, if Lamar has a crazy statistical season and then brings this team all injury riddled to the playoffs, honestly, he might win MVP. I don't know, but yeah, no, I think that's a valid take. It does feel like the Steelers division to lose, especially like looking at the rest of the division, because Joe Burrow more or less is like out for the season in my head. He might play like if they're in playoff contention, he'll play like the last 2 or weeks of the season or whatever. Browns, I don't really starting Dylan Gabriel next week. I don't think Dylan Gabriel wows me enough, at least to
Well, thing is, Miami could turn it around even without Tyreek. New England, better record right now, could have a really second half surge right when Baltimore is trying to make their comeback run. Jacksonville's 3-1 right now. And do we expect Houston to still be at the record? Like, there's a lot of teams in the similar position as the Ravens. They're not the only team that's quote unquote underperforming. Like, especially the Dolphins and the Texans. I don't think we expected them to be 1-3 like for 4 weeks. And now the Ravens face the Texans without Lamar and without all those key players. Like that, it's just going to be difficult sledding for them, man.
Yeah. So it'll be a tough road. It really does come down to, can Lamar just stay healthy the rest of the season? Because ultimately, I think that is what they need in order to actually even be in the playoff contention. And then I'll have my one last take, and that, I don't know, like, I say Colts number 2 seed in the AFC come playoff time.
Wow. I don't know about that. I don't know what it is, but something tells me they're going to be like a nice story, but like a 3-4 seed because they win their division. But first off, they have Jacksonville and Houston. I think Houston will play a lot better. But then you have the Chargers and the Chiefs playing the way they are. And the only thing stopping me from the Colts is the history that we've seen out of a team like the Chiefs and the Chargers being for real as well. So it's if Adonai Mitchell didn't screw up that stupid touchdown at the end and like had that penalty, like Colts could be a number 1 seed right now, like co-owning it with Buffalo. But I don't know. It's just a like I'm still a Danny Dimes, like, can he keep it up kind of state. Where it's not, it might be too little too late by the time it's like, oh no, this is for real. So I'm gonna say I don't know about that one because more of like competition to AFC, but particularly
because I just see it was like the Colts are the Adonai Mitchell fumble away from beating this is the NFC's team to beat.
Right.
You know, and it's like, I mean, you have to give them that credit, right? Where it's
I don't know where I'm at with the Colts push out. That's what it comes down to.
Because it's like you're like the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC, and then here are the Colts. If it was Alec Pierce healthy with that football, that is most likely a touchdown right there. And all of a sudden, the Colts potentially are 4-0 and just beat the team to beat in the NFC. Which I mean, obviously, you know, it is always scary with Daniel Jones, but ultimately, I think even if Daniel Jones does struggle, like the offensive line is playing out of their minds right now for the Colts.
Right.
And I think even if Daniel Jones doesn't have like this MVP level season, I think Daniel Jones could have like 100 pass yards with like a I don't know like almost like maybe like a 28 to 30 yard or 30 passing touchdowns to like sub 10 interceptions, and like that like alongside Jonathan Taylor having like what's going to be a historic career season for himself, I think can be a team that is a potential number 2 seed in the AFC right here.
Yeah. It's possible. It's totally possible.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, sure, it is a tough division, but like, or a tough conference, but it's like,
Corstian, I'm still in shock that Danny Dimes is the Colts QB1 and has them like almost undefeated right now. That's why I'm at with it.
And it's not even his fault that they lost, which is the craziest bit too, right?
Like we thought the Colts were going to be a bottom feeder team in the league because they couldn't figure out their quarterback, and here they're like flipped it on its head. So, you picked the perfect take to end this episode on.
Yeah,
because it is an overreaction, but at the same time, it's not that impossible. So,
yeah.
Or you could have just doomed the Colts for eternity to help your Broncos propaganda. I don't know which, but with that, we'll end off the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow us on our Instagram page. That's always updated. I'm on that mission. And then our YouTube channel where you have our full-length episodes. We hope you enjoyed this one. 4 games in, a lot of content to go. Bears are on bye week, so they can't screw anything up now that they have positive momentum. Make sure you pick up Kyle Pitts on the waiver wire because not a lot of people are going to do it, but he is having a phenomenal season. But he's not on the projected ones in ESPN right now, so slow hint, go pick him up. I think he'll have a great season with Michael Penix.
Yeah.
I might have told you so at the beginning. Maybe I might have, but yeah, go do that. And Corstian, what do you got to tell the viewers before we let them go?
Something about peace out, man.
All righty, you guys take it easy.